connecting to cloud service.
Right. Well, thanks everyone. We've got a great team here from EY. We're, one of our long-term supporters, and we were really pleased to have them sponsor our conference and share what they were doing around this Nexus platform. A lot of our discussions, particularly with the insurers, are about how they want to simplify their systems, and they want to, move away from lots and lots of different legacy systems. And that's one of the challenges they have with talking to startups and bringing on new systems. And I think Nexus is a really nice and a really effective way to sort of bridge that gap. So it's great to see that there's lots of Insurtechs interested in this discussion. And that was kind of what I wanted to say as an intro, and then we'll hand over to Andy and with the
thanks, Simone. Hi, morning, everyone. Thanks for giving us your time. Neve, are you putting some slides up for us?
I'll put them up now.
Adrian, thanks. So, guys, I don't know whether anyone attending was at InsurtechLIVE. We had a 15-minute slot to talk about Nexus, which is really only enough to scratch the surface. And so what I wanted to do was offer an opportunity to deep dive a little bit more on that for both Insurtech members and the partners. So this half an hour with you, the members. We've got another session on Tuesday morning with partners. And so we'll sort of bifurcate the content a little bit, because Nexus is made up of a number of different components. And I'll sort of recap some of the purpose of what Nexus is and why we built it in a second. But the purpose of this session really is just a deep dive around what does it mean for Insurtechs. We absolutely see Insurtechs as part of the secret sauce to innovate and solve difficult problems. And a large part, therefore, of Nexus is the ability to connect in various Insurtechs into the ecosystem and make that much more easily available to insurers along with a bunch of other tech. So that's what we'll talk through. We've got Terry Luciani from the US. So Terry's the managing director and responsible for ecosystems within Nexus. He's a big fan of Insurtech, was doing this kind of work for MetLife before he joined EY fairly recently. And then we've got Adrian, some of you may have met before, one of our local directors who's operating in this space as well as a number of other EY folks. So we'll give a quick recap on Nexus, and then I'll quickly hand over to Terry and then Adrian to talk you through what we've got, what we're looking for, and what it means for you. And then really the invitation is out there for you guys. If you haven't already, please reach out to us and we'll take the time to understand your offering, the value proposition, determine to what extent that meets our requirements. And if there's a tick there, then we're very keen to get you on board and part of the Nexus ecosystem. All right. So, what we've built in Nexus is really there to solve customer and insurer problems. We're not trying to be an insurtech. We're not trying to be a core system insurance provider. We're trying to create an ecosystem that brings those things together. But we do build some technology components within Nexus. There's a number of insurance solutions that are proprietary IP that we've built where we've seen gaps in the market. But really, it's a collection of components that you can use as accelerators and starting points for a bunch of different things. But it's really aimed at trying to achieve these four outcomes, either individually or in combination. So, and we've got real life examples. This isn't slideware. There's real software underpinning this. We've got 10 or 15 examples of where we've actually used Nexus to power and accelerate some of this stuff. So it's definitely real. So it's all about helping to launch innovative new products and brands in the marketplace, about improving customer experience, about improving efficiencies around operation, and helping clients modernize core systems. So much more about recognizing there's an incremental process to replacement, and not everything the old gets thrown away and replaced by the new immediately. So those are really the four major business outcomes that we're trying to achieve through Nexus. I think I'll just touch on this very briefly. We've got, as I said before, this is all about leveraging technology that clients already have, but also quickly and rapidly bringing in new technologies. So forget the banking, capital markets and wealth. This is a cross financial services offering. We've got a bunch of components in there that are relevant cross sector. And you can see examples of those on the left. So things like plugins to ServiceNow and Appian for rapid automation, DocuSign, that many of those things will be quite familiar. Down on the right-hand side is an example of some of the Insurtechs and some of the core insurance tech systems that are already connected into the ecosystem. So it gives you a bit of a flavor. I won't drain this slide in. I want to get quickly to Terry and talk about what it means for Insurtech. So over to you, Terry.
Thanks a lot, Andy. I'm really excited to be here with everyone. I want to start by saying I absolutely love founders. I think founders are just a different breed. And I might date myself a little bit here, but they remind me of a combination of my favorite Star Wars characters. Founders have the brains of a Princess Leia. They have the belief system of a Luke Skywalker, and they have the insane guts of a Han Solo. And it's all combined together. So to me, founders are absolutely amazing. Every day they create amazing things, amazing, disruptive, cool things. They're game changers. So I hope that everyone believes me when I say that there are a lot of really cool startups out there, very cool startups, but this is not about being a cool or disruptive startup. It's about being a cool or disruptive startup that we can align, that has specific value for EY Nexus and our customers. So next slide. That's why for us, everything is about requirements. Everything's about needs. It's the raison d'etre of what we're trying to do. Requirements drive ecosystem efforts. They're how we align our Nexus business to our customers. They're how we identify the right partners. Requirements are how we monetize efforts. They're really how we succeed. Next slide. So when we think about it, requirements are the start of our work. And it might be the fact that I'm old and I'm an old sort of waterfall methodology guy, but the action of talking and listening, of understanding needs, of documenting each of those needs, of taking the time to play them back to the leader, and then getting confirmation, that process creates a lot of value. It's not rocket science, what I'm talking about. It's really just a simple conversation with simple questions. And often, we don't even necessarily need the questions, right? We'll meet a user and they'll be very quick to point out the stuff that they want. Claims fraud. We need claims fraud solutions, right? But sometimes you have users, back please. Sometimes you have users where it's a little bit more of a push and pull. So we ask questions of, what are you trying to do? What are your needs? What are the biggest opportunities or challenges you're facing? So the goal, right? We're trying to discover what capabilities are needed to solve the problem. And now we could go to the next slide. So requirements are really powerful and they serve a lot of purposes. They help us really create a clear baseline for all of our work. They ensure that the work we're doing is directly enabling a value for the business. They make it clear why we're sourcing certain capabilities from certain places. They allow us to build the proper tracking and reporting. And of course, they're really the first steps that help us drive a monetization strategy. Really important to the folks on this call is that they really allow us to be efficient in our interactions with startups. I want to be, very honest, and I want to be very clear about that. That is important to us. We recognize the challenges of running a small company, so we want to be efficient in our interactions with startups. We don't want to waste our time, and we definitely don't want to waste your time on unnecessary efforts. So we want to work with cool startups, and we want to ensure that the value is there for all parties involved, our customers, EY, and of course, the smaller, nimble disruptors that are bringing differentiated capabilities to the table. There's a famous American baseball player, and his name is Yogi Berra. And he was known for making funny, sort of really simple but brilliant statements. So he would say things like, "It ain't over till it's over," or my favorite, "It's like deja vu all over again." I love that statement. He once actually said, "If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else." I think that is so wise, and it's quite fitting to describe what we're trying to do and why requirements are so core to our process. Next slide. So now that I've probably put you all to sleep on minutes of conversation about requirements, celebrating their value, let me talk a bit about our process that we're trying to build here. And of course, it starts with requirements, right? That's what we need to do. And it can come from the clients. It can be the client need. It can be from our core Nexus team. Or it can even be as we sit down and think about what are the impacts for the future. For each requirement, we then go and source capabilities. And there's a lot of great places to find great solutions. We've built many into Nexus already. Many partners internally have great expertise in the space. We've actually vetted a large subset of startups in Insurtech, and we have access to VC networks that have really powerful capabilities to find great companies. There are, of course, research services, there's a little bit of Google foo. So when we find interesting options, we need to then filter down. So we can find those cool but also valuable companies. We try to vet them using A, B, C, D. First off, how well does the company align to the requirements? What's the backing behind the company? When we think about the company, what's the team like? How difficult might it be to partner with them? There's some work we can do to vet companies, but there's probably no greater vetting than getting to meet and talk to the people that make those companies run. Then for the companies we select, we need to bring them into the EY system. And that means getting them onboarded. That means getting them ready to work with Nexus. We, of course, would love to run a structured test, a test where we're giving you a set of capabilities that are needed, and you're proving out whether or not you can solve for those capabilities. And if the test goes well, it really makes it easy to go to market together, to create opportunities with customers, and make that startup partner an implemented Nexus solution. Next slide. So with all that, you still want to work with us? We would love to work with you. And we're sharing these 4 Ps on this slide to really help position your company for success. Now, I know reading these, right, you're looking at them and you're like, duh, these are indeed simple. I get it. But having spent for 10 years building startup ecosystems in my last role, you'd be surprised how many well-funded, brilliant teams would often mess up these simple things and actually lose out on potential opportunities. It really starts with purpose. Know your value proposition as a company. If you don't know your value, then you can't expect anyone else to know it. And I'm not picking on chatbots, but if, for an example, if you're in that space, there are chatbot competitors everywhere. You better be so articulate on what differentiates your chatbot company from all the others. Be able to pitch us, be able to pitch anyone. Tell your story in 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Hone your pitch so well, so crystal clear about what you do and how you do it. Think about the singer in the metro, right? Be comfortable giving that pitch anywhere at any time. If the person you're pitching to lacks clarity about what you do after 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, that meeting is a failure. Don't forget the customer. The reason why you're there is the customer. You're there to solve their problem. Empathy is really powerful. Understand the needs and talk about how your capabilities solve that customer problem. This is a silly story, but it's one that's always stayed with me. It's about a marketing team that I think went into a Coke meeting, and one of the people actually pitching was drinking a Diet Pepsi. Guarantee that was not a successful outcome. When I was at MetLife, so many companies would come in and spell our name MET space LIFE, which is not the way you spell MetLife. A really easy thing to fix. So know the customer, speak to the customer, be empathetic. Finally, you've told me all about your purpose and you've pitched me and you're saying how you solve my problem. Show me, prove it to me for free, or at least as inexpensively as possible. Run a test to demonstrate your capabilities. Take my criteria and deliver on each one of them. Show me why you're the best company to solve my problem. And it's that easy. So to get started, all you need to do is reach out. We are really happy to connect with you and learn more. We're actually building a process with it, but from now, just reach out to us. We can determine if you align with requirements, and we can begin the effort to work together to solve real customer problems. We're a big company, and we definitely have some processes to onboard partners. So my friend Adrian's going to talk a little bit about how we collaborate.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, so stepping into the collaboration process, and hopefully this will give you, this slide and the slide after will give you a sense of what the initial steps are. What you see in front of you on these two axes is a growth path. It's fairly generic, but what it's trying to illustrate is that there's a genesis point when we're working with Insurtechs, and that's that bottom left. And it usually starts with a client-specific engagement. The first engagement is very important. It really signals to us and the Insurtech about how we work together and how we're coming together, as Terry mentioned, to solve a problem and get some proof points around it. We have, if that's the genesis point, obviously over time, sophistication improves. And with some of our biggest partners, and this goes beyond Insurtech, but to more insure technology providers, at that high end, as you go through the relationship structures here, you'll see that there's a level of involvement and engagement that grows over time. At the end game, there's support with global leaders on both sides and both organizations as they grow. Skilled workforces and co-trained organizations, involvement from our global delivery services, which is our onshore offshore model that we use to execute on projects. Joint go-to-market activities and joint training activities. And we do this ongoing right from the get-go, and training is one of the first ones we do. So presently we have, we're one of our key partners, which has really just moved from that yellow balloon at the bottom, an Asia-based Insurtech, and they're growing really fast in the industry. And we're moving into having, being specialist delivery services for them, test and learn, but also co-training on them with their teams and with our teams to ensure that when we hit the market, the tires hit the road, we have people on the ground who are ready to go and understand how to set up and run and execute on the engagements. The important part, I think, for this team is the practicalities of that. So those bottom four, or the left four boxes are the four key things to get through to that first engagement. The first step on our side, and this is open doors onto EY really, and how we work, we do an independence check. We're a big organization. We conduct all sorts of financial audit activities, and we also have a consulting arm as well. So independence check is really important for us, and that's really to identify if there are any restrictions associated with working with us. If any of the owners, the subsidiaries, or key partners in an organization are organizations that we audit from a financial perspective, that there may be some restrictions that we have to be put in place to ensure that we can work together productively. That's usually a very quick exercise, and it's literally a couple of hours or an hour. Somebody like myself, Glenn, Andy, Terry, sitting down and going onto our online portal. We do this every day. It's very executed very quickly. Then we step into an NDA, and this is relatively quick exercise as well. I'd say about a week turnaround maximum after a number of changes on an NDA before we step into that new business relationship. So this is the process to initiate and research on an organization, to double check about the independence, check if there are any quality challenges or any conflicts that we should be aware of. And then we would move into that client engagement solutions phase, which would be setting up a standard SOW where we work together as partners on a specific engagement, and we go through the project initiation process. Those 4 steps, generally speaking, you wouldn't go from zero and try and, you'd be sort of halfway along the pathway already before you get to the engagement with a third party or on a job. So it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks in total, but it can be shorter if the initiation is done earlier. The success of that engagement is critical to setting up that ecosystem partnership in the long run. And that's a fairly straightforward process, but a lot of research involved. So there's a primary country where the relationship exists. There's a research phase where that underpins contract negotiations, risk assessments on both sides. And then local country agreements where we start to get into those phases that you saw on the previous slide, which is about joint go-to-market activities, joint training activities, capability development, and potentially investment, proof of concepts and the like. So hopefully that gives you some sense of the practicalities that we go through with those first 4 steps to get to market for a proof point, I think, as Terry put it, which is a successful engagement where things go well and we're both covered from a risk and legalities perspective, and the client has a great outcome. So I'll pass back to Terry to wrap up. Terry's message before was very clear. Come and talk to us. We're open doors, and we have a close relationship ongoing with Insurtech Australia. So please, anyone, Andy, Glenn, Terry, myself, come and have a chat to us. You want to wrap up, Terry and Andy? Step into questions.
Apologies, I was on mute. Yeah, no, I think really to make this a complete deck, we had to end with an acronym. And what better word than excel, right? Defined as being exceptionally good at an activity. I believe working with EY Nexus is a chance to excel. It's a chance to work together to deliver solutions to insurers, but other companies. Think of Nexus as a vested partner. We can fill in pieces of the puzzle to drive a larger value proposition. This includes the customer experience that's delivered, helping to bring it to another level. We have strong relationships with our clients, and we're happy to share knowledge, how to adjust your roadmap to accelerate opportunities. Our unique position gives us a strong view of where things are headed. It allows us to disrupt either individual pieces or the entire value chain, sometimes through the creation of entirely new products and services. Truthfully, if you want to excel, EY Nexus is a great partner to make that happen. So come and talk to us. Like Adrian said, thank you for your time today. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. I am happy to take the easy ones. Anything difficult, I'll defer to Andy and Adrian.
Cheers, Terry. 5 minutes to go. We are very happy to take questions or any comments, reactions to what we've talked through. If you're shy and you want to do it offline directly with us, that's fine as well.
There's questions out there, Andy. Just someone's afraid to. Let me go, Dakadu. Way to go,
I see
Dakadu.
something.
Chat.
From which insurance segment have you seen the most interest for Nexus?
I could probably answer that. Largely P&C, so personal lines, but we have recently been getting a lot more interest in the life insurance space. Then I'd say probably number 3 is health insurance. So we are starting to kick off a number of conversations around how do we apply that within health insurance. But I'd say personal lines, then life, then health.
In which area in P&C?
Pretty much the whole gambit, right? Commercial lines, we've got a number of value propositions globally that we've put there. All lines of business within personal lines, whether it's property, motor, travel insurance, pet insurance, there's a lot of interest in all lines of business.
A question from InsurtechHQ. So how do we get to the next step, qualify for an independence check?
Adrian, do you want to handle that?
Yep. Quite simply, send me an email, CC myself and Andy, and we can give you a call. We'll jump on the phone and grab any key information we need. It's a very quick process. So it'll be a 15-minute conversation, and then we will go away and do that for you.
Second follow-up, what are P&C customer sizes based on GWP?
Some of them upwards of $5 to $7 billion US. So large, medium to large scale. Down to much smaller ones. We've got a number of examples in the US where they're very state-specific niche insurance companies, and they're going for more greenfield implementation options as opposed to larger transformations like core system replacements.
Thank you, Jenny. Dakadu, do you see any interest in life or health? And if yes, then in which areas? If no, then why do you think that would be?
If we had a life insurance, right, a lot of it's depending on where in Asia you operate, because we're obviously, I focus in on Asia a lot. There's a large agent channel, so being able to have a lot of the agency information for customer is really key, and that's in terms of quote and buy through to having very timely claims processes that both a customer and an agent can leverage. So I think we're seeing, in addition to that, also the use of automation in terms of operational improvement. So putting an operation, an RPA or an automation layer into support operations aspects such as underwriting desktop. So real-time dynamic pricing to support policies is very key in life. In health, that's work in progress, right? I've got a strong background in health, and I think we're seeing that a lot of, certainly in the Australian market, there's many health providers are on legacy platforms, and it's how do they modernize that? So we are seeing a lot of digital front end on the back end legacy databases as being a value proposition moving forward there. Hopefully that answered the question.
What interest are you seeing in the workers' compensation, injury, and disability space?
I mean, the largest provider there is probably Fineos, right, in Australia. I personally, I don't know if you have, Andy, I've not applied the Nexus lens into that space. I think a lot of it's due to capacity. If you look at a segment, you've got to put a lot of energy into it. And at the moment, we're focusing in a lot on, personal lines, commercial lines, and life insurance. But I think workers' comp is definitely a play.
Yeah, I think in general insurance, stat classes is so behind the times, and it's so paper-based and manual with scheme variances. This is almost a step maybe too far for them, but I absolutely agree that there's a lot of uplift work in sort of stat class stuff in Australia. I think you're right. The tech in injury and disability is a bit more advanced in life and health, Glenn.
Yep.
And actually, Fineos are an Insurtech Australia partner. They're on our partner equivalent of this session on Tuesday, and there's an organisation we work with.
Andy, I know we're at 8 o'clock now, but there is one last question
Sure.
that was about embedded insurance. So do you want to?
Yeah, I could probably cover that. So there's 2 or 3 clients in the US that we're working on an embedded insurance. A large motor insurer is looking at using their existing customer base to use the Nexus ecosystem to expand in that. We've got a property developer in New York that owns the building that's going to offer insurance products, and the whole building has got sensors for IoT. So that's going to support dynamic pricing. And there's also a very strong discussion happening with a large pharmaceutical company that's got, a network of doctors, wellness programs, prescriptions, etc. So that's looking at an embedded insurance offering from a traditional pharmacy. And it's certainly part of our growth agenda across APAC into FY24.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Good day.
Good day.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.